In the Walt Disney classic, Dumbo, released in 1941, Dumbo the elephant found his talent of flying despite the ridicule he received for his oversized ears. Since 1955, Dumbo has enjoyed flight after flight in Disney parks all over the world, quickly becoming a Disney classic ride and giving the film more notoriety than before. The ride remains a classic, having a spot at all 5 Disney Magic Kingdom parks across the globe, soon to be 6. When Dumbo was produced, it was meant to be a low-budget feature to bring revenue to the Disney studios after Fantasia and Pinocchio failed to meet expectations in the box office. The war in Europe was greatly to blame due to restrictions on international distribution. Dumbo was successful, bringing great financial gain to the studio and becoming its highest-grossing film of the 1940s. It enjoyed many re-releases in theaters in 1949, 1959, 1972, and 1976. Even though the elephant never said a word, Imagineers, who at the time were part of WED Enterprises, were inspired by him from the beginning. Disneyland was always set to have a Dumbo the Flying Elephant ride since the opening of the park in 1955. The original intention of Fantasyland, which it mostly sticks to today, is taking you inside your favorite Disney films and stories. In Snow White's Scary Adventure, Walt wanted the guests to feel like they were Snow White, with her barely in the ride. In Peter Pan's flight, you are flying high with Peter Pan. You become the characters, so the rides had to stick to that integrity. Originally, the Dumbo ride vehicles had hinged ears to create the illusion of flapping and flying, like from the film. However, the mechanisms never quite worked and were eventually scrapped. In fact, the original concept art for the rides from the first 50 Magical Years exhibits shows pink elephants instead of Dumbo's classic gray. Why? If you were being transported into the film, of course there was only one Dumbo. So to counteract that, the ride would be based around the sequence in the film Pink Elephants on Parade, where Dumbo accidentally drinks spirits and hallucinates. Legend has it that Walt put his foot down that the hallucination had no place in the park, that character integrity was not more important than the dignity of the park. Throughout the years and throughout the globe, Dumbo has received many updates, yet remaining ever popular. At Walt Disney World, Dumbo was one of the opening attractions at the Magic Kingdom in 1971. It resided behind Cinderella Castle in Fantasyland. Many of the updates around the globe included a water feature below the ride vehicles. At Magic Kingdom, however, a unique tunnel system resides below the park for cast members to quickly navigate backstage. It affects many things, including the planting of trees with deep root systems that could crack the pavement and cave in, but especially the way water pipes are run to rides, especially to Dumbo. Another issue with Dumbo's placement was the room for long lines. Being a popular and nostalgic Disney ride, it was always on guests' lists of attractions to visit. There was no shade and the Florida pavement was hot. Guests would wait in long lines, becoming irate. Disney's guest service and courtesy is one of the most important keys of the company. And finally, with the area in Fantasyland where Toontown resided receiving a facelift, they already had 2 large circus tents on the property. With those key problems, Disney found a solution and moved the Dumbo ride back to the area where Toontown used to be. They created an entire section of Fantasyland called Storybook Circus. Much like a restaurant, guests can wait with pagers and let their children play on the playground and explore inside a circus tent, with the pager going off when it is their time to ride. The famous Dumbo ride and film not only inspired an updated version of the classic, but the entire section of Storybook Circus. Character meet and greets, food, merchandise, and rides received a re-theming to enter the circus realm. One reason I chose to research Dumbo and Storybook Circus is because Disneyland attempted a circus in the 1950s, shortly after opening. With its lack of popularity, Walt closed the attraction, stating that a circus didn't belong at Disneyland. Somehow the Imagineers found hope in the bright colors and theming of a circus coming to town with classic Disney characters thrown in to boot. My hypothesis for Walt Disney World's Storybook Circus is nostalgia and homage. Dumbo needed a reboot and needed to be moved in order for theming and construction to make way for New Fantasyland in 2012. Whenever Imagineers close an attraction that Disney purists find great love for, there is an uproar and disappointment. This new opening was bigger, better, and more convenient. The circus theme could work on multiple levels with the new updated train station and themes for special treats, as well as taking advantage of the Toontown circus tents. Disney constantly has to work for a balance in their parks of changing and innovating, but working with their heritage and nostalgia. Although Dumbo is not the most popular movie today, and may be somewhat unknown to small children, the historical ties to the park are not something that can be overlooked. What I find most interesting is that the films used to live on their own with theme park attractions to partner with them. However, now Disney rides and experiences are deeply rooted into entertainment. The rides can stand on their own now, despite their origin from the films. Dumbo is in the park not because of marketing ties or popularity of his film, but because of the heritage and popularity in the parks. With such simple ride mechanics, guests have been delighted for years and years. One of the key attributes of the Walt Disney Company is heritage. Through paying respect to their heritage, it encourages guests to do the same, making many loyal fans to the company and their films.